What's up, guys? This is Miles here with Ascendo Sports. In this video, I'm going to be going over why I believe the Utah Jazz and D'Angelo Russell are a perfect fit and how the whole deal would work out, because it will take some trades. But first off, we're going to talk about why D'Angelo will probably be leaving the Nets. That's because just yesterday they traded away Allen Crabbe and his large contract and 2 first-round picks, one lottery protected and one that is the number 17th pick, to the Atlanta Hawks, just to clear up space pretty much for 2 outside max free agents. So Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving and Kyrie KD, Kyrie Tobias Harris, whatever. But that's not the point of this video. We're going to be hitting on D'Angelo Russell, who has now kind of saved his career. He was kind of lackluster in Los Angeles, but that was a lot of the coaching and just media there. But this season, he played 81 games, being an all-star, averaging 21 points and 7 assists, with really good shooting numbers. And there's a lot of teams that are kind of in the discussion that want him. You can kind of make up any scenario. Of course he works with the Suns. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and TJ Warren. Of course they'd be good for a long time. Chicago Bulls, Lauri Markkanen, Chris Dunn, Bobby Portis with D'Angelo Russell there. Yeah, of course that is a good young core to build up with. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, if you get rid of Jeff Teague's contract and just work out some trades to free up cap space, of course Cat and D'Angelo Russell will be a formidable force. And there are even some contenders that kind of make sense. Like if the 76ers lose Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, of course they should go in on D'Angelo Russell. It only makes sense. Actually, for them, I don't know. That doesn't make that much sense with Ben Simmons there. But, yeah, of course they would want to bring him in. But I'm going to tell you today that I believe the Utah Jazz are a perfect fit for him, and that he can be the player that takes the Utah Jazz to the next level. So, first off, this came out about 4 or 5 days ago, that Rick Rubio has been told that he's not a top priority, which is AKA, we're not that worried about signing you. We don't care if we have to lose you because we want to get better. Now, Rick Rubio is a phenomenal player. I really like him, and I like the Jazz. Now, these are their per-game stats this year. Now, note, Kyle Korver was traded there for Alec Burks, so he only played 17 games there. And Korver only played 54. But you see they have a lot of players that score double-digit figures. They're all around, I think, one of the best teams in the league. We're going to talk about bench depth and just how deep they can go. And they have so much experience alongside young players. It's really impressive. But this is their payroll for next year. Now, of course, Ricky Rubio isn't here. He's at the bottom, $14.9 million. So there are 2 players that I'm going to have to drop off, or the Jazz are going to have to drop off in order to bring enough cap space to sign D'Angelo Russell. I don't know if he's going to be worth the max, but they might have to offer him the max because other teams will. So again, Ricky Rubio, a great player, only 28 years old, so he still has a good 4-year contract left in his prime. But again, you're going to have to let him go, or at least try to sign him after you acquire D'Angelo Russell for a lower cost. Now, the first player we're going to have to trade is Dante Exum. Now, getting paid roughly $9 million a year, even though he is developing and they think he could turn into a better player, they just don't have enough time to wait around with star free agents on the market like this. And then Derek Favors, who has been a glue role player piece. He has been amazing in Utah. But getting paid $16 million a year for somebody that can't really space the floor, that's just a little too much. So he's going to have to be traded. So with both of those guys traded, you now have enough money to pretty much offer D'Angelo Russell the max. You will have enough money to offer him the max. And just imagine that guard duo of him and Donovan Mitchell. Look at all the teams that it has worked for. CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, James Harden, and CP3, John Wall, Bradley Beal. And then you also have a really good core already around him. You have great shooters, some of the best in the league, with Joe Ingles and Kyle Korver if Korver returns. But then you still have Royce O'Neal and Thabo Cephalosha, so you have shooters. And then again, you have your defensive monster, Rudy Gobert. And Jay Crowder might be one of the most underrated players. When he was playing for Boston, he was excellent, and then he kind of had to be in the Cleveland circus for a while, but he's got back to great form. And now, look at the team that did take a risk last offseason, trading DeMar DeRozan and acquiring Kawhi Leonard. Now, of course, he's a superstar, so he can, of course, carry them to the finals. But in the long run, I think even if they lose the finals and he stays, they'll be happy. Or if they win the finals and he leaves, they'll be happy. Because if you win that championship, that's all that matters. So again, even though Derek Favors has been a really good player in Utah and the fans love him and he just works well there, you have to make a move because there's no other way. I would rather keep Joe Ingles than Derek Favors. And I would rather keep like Royce O'Neal and Cephalosha and Corver instead of just having Derek Favors. So again, this deal would work theoretically. And for D'Angelo Russell, you have a great group of guys that can rack up assists for you. You'll have even better shooters than you did in Brooklyn. I mean, they'll be able to knock down shots, which will get you one-on-one matchups. And then you can always pass up the ball to Donovan Mitchell, and he can go make plays for himself. And on the defensive side, even though D'Angelo Russell isn't a great defender, that team has a really good defensive scheme, and they have a lot of good defensive players. So, of course, the defense won't be that bad to where he stands out. So, again, for all these reasons, I believe Utah Jazz and D'Angelo Russell are a really good fit together. Now, of course, you can make a case for a lot of teams. You could say, well, the Boston Celtics lose Kyrie and Rozier. They should try to package Hayward up with a pick and sign him. And, yeah, of course that core would be good. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and D'Angelo Russell. Of course that core would be good. There's so many teams that you can do this for. But the Utah Jazz, they just have so many good shooters and good defensive players. And then a young player in Donovan Mitchell to where even if the Jazz don't get significantly better, they're young. I mean, you have a 23-year-old D'Angelo Russell and a 22 to 23-year-old. I know he's either 22 or 23. I'm not sure right now, but Donovan Mitchell. So you at least have like 10 years to get it right with those two guys there. 10 years to get it right, and having a 10-year window to say, hey, we just have to be at least like one to two or three best teams in the league in 10 years of time. You have tons of flexibility there. In 10 years, a whole decade to win one title with D'Angelo Russell, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. And I mean, honestly, if this does happen this upcoming season, depending on how the West turns out, how the Golden State Warriors end up in the rubble of the offseason, and how the Lakers end up and how the Rockets end up, they could be a legitimate contender next year. At that young of an age. I mean, it is possible. So do not count them out if this deal does happen. And honestly, don't count the Jazz out if the deal doesn't happen. They have great coaching, Quinn Snyder, and they really run the organization well. And they have a really good home court advantage. Their fans are crazy. So I do think the Utah Jazz should make this deal, or they should definitely pursue him and make the trades necessary if they believe they can get him. So let me know what you think about this and what teams you think D'Angelo Russell should go to and what teams should consider maybe trading players and draft picks in order to free up cap space to acquire D'Angelo Russell. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.